What if someone was watching you, following you around day in and day out, listening to every word you said and reading every letter you sent? It sounds like the plot of a horror movie, but it was the reality for many people living under the oppressive regime of East Germany. Today, we will tell one such story about a man named Wolfgang Templin, whose every move was tracked by the dreaded secret police force known as the Stasi. So let us dive into the world of communist totalitarianism and explore how Templin managed to stay one step ahead of his shadowy pursuers. This is the story of a man named Wolfgang Templin, who was born on January 7, 1937 in Berlin, Germany. He had always been interested in politics and had a strong sense of justice. During the Cold War era, he became an active member of the resistance against the communist regime in East Germany. However, this came at a great personal cost, as the government was constantly surveilling him and his loved ones. But he was determined to stand up for what he believed in and refused to be intimidated by the authorities. In 1976, Templin founded the Initiative for Peace and Human Rights, an organization that aimed to promote democracy and human rights in East Germany. This made him a target of the Stasi, which saw him as a threat to the stability of the regime. At its peak, the Stasi employed over 90,000 people and had a network of informants that reached far beyond East Germany's borders. They used a variety of methods to gather intelligence on Templin and other dissidents, including infiltrating their social circles, tapping their phones, and even breaking into their homes. For example, in the case of Wolfgang Templin, the Stasi deployed at least 10 collaborators to keep track of his every move. Each collaborator had a specific task to monitor different aspects of his life, such as his movements, his conversations, and his activities. These collaborators were often ordinary citizens who had been recruited by the Stasi and were paid a salary for their services. Some of them were loyal members of the Communist Party who genuinely believed in the regime's ideology, while others were simply coerced into working for the state for fear of reprisals if they refused. Whatever their motivations, each collaborator played an essential role in building up a comprehensive profile of Templin's life and activities. Let's follow one of these Stasi collaborators and see how they monitored Templin's life. Every morning when Templin left his house for work, his every move was documented in detail. His collaborator recorded the time he left, the route he took, the people he met, and the places he visited. They also listened carefully to his conversations, taking note of any mention of sensitive topics such as human rights or democracy. In the evenings, the collaborator continued to monitor Templin, recording any social activities or meetings he had. They also checked his garbage to see if there were any discarded documents or other evidence of his activities. In addition, the collaborator would regularly visit the local post office to check if there were any letters or packages addressed to Templin. They would then report back to the Stasi with a detailed account of everything they had learned. But the surveillance didn't end there. Once the collaborator had gathered enough information about Templin, it was passed on to the Stasi for analysis. The agents would then decide what, if any, action should be taken. This could range from placing Templin under formal arrest to simply keeping him under observation. In some cases, the Stasi may have even used what they learned about Templin to blackmail or coerce him into doing what they wanted. Overall, this intense surveillance and monitoring system was designed to keep East German citizens like Wolfgang Templin in line and prevent them from engaging in any activities that could threaten the stability of the regime. By using a combination of brute force, psychological manipulation, and sophisticated surveillance techniques, the Stasi was able to maintain a climate of fear and control that lasted for decades. Templin's case wasn't unique. In fact, it was fairly common for the Stasi to keep tabs on people they deemed undesirable, and the agency didn't just monitor ordinary citizens. Even high-ranking government officials and members of the Communist Party were not safe from the Stasi's watchful eyes. In many cases, the Stasi kept detailed files on everyone from low-level bureaucrats to top party leaders, gathering information that could be used to blackmail or discredit them. For example, the Stasi knew that many East German leaders had committed serious crimes in order to advance through the ranks of the Communist Party. They used this knowledge to keep the leaders in check and ensure their loyalty to the regime. By threatening to expose their shady past, the Stasi effectively had them by the throat and could control their behavior. This created a culture of fear and paranoia among East Germany's elite, which in turn had a negative impact on the country as a whole. When everyone is afraid of being betrayed or blackmailed, it creates an atmosphere of distrust and suspicion. This is not conducive to a healthy society, and it was one of the many ways in which the Stasi's activities harmed East Germany and its people. There was no aspect of life in East Germany that was immune from the Stasi's surveillance. One of the most alarming aspects of the Stasi's operations was their use of an elaborate system of hidden cameras and listening devices. Agents would often disguise themselves as ordinary citizens, complete with fake beards and glasses, and stake out targets for days on end. They would listen in on private conversations, record phone calls, and even break into homes to plant bugs. One of the most brazen examples of the Stasi's surveillance was their use of hidden cameras in public places such as parks, restaurants, and even toilets. These cameras were often disguised as innocuous objects, such as statues or potted plants, and they allowed the Stasi to monitor people's behavior without them even realizing it. This created a constant sense of paranoia among East German citizens, who never knew if they were being watched or if their every move was being recorded. The Stasi even went so far as to create a special department dedicated to intercepting and recording the contents of letters and packages. Known as Department M, this secretive operation was based in a building that looked like a run-of-the-mill post office, but was actually a front for the Stasi's activities. Inside the fake post office were rows upon rows of desks, where agents would open and read every letter that came through the facility. They would then sort the letters according to their contents and send them on their way, all the while making sure to record anything that could be useful for blackmail or other nefarious purposes. It is estimated that Department M intercepted and recorded the contents of tens of thousands of letters and packages every year, allowing the Stasi to keep tabs on virtually everyone in East Germany. In conclusion, the story of Wolfgang Templein reveals the true extent of the evil design of communist surveillance. Through the use of a vast network of informants, hidden cameras, listening devices, and fake post offices, the Stasi was able to monitor the lives of East German citizens with an intensity that is truly chilling. But despite the fear and paranoia that this surveillance created, the people of East Germany should be commended for their courage in standing up for human rights and democracy against a tyrannical regime. Their bravery in the face of such oppression is a testament to the human spirit and a reminder that the fight for freedom is worth having. We hope that by sharing these stories, we can help keep the memory of those who fought against communism alive and inspire future generations to stand up for what they believe in, no matter how difficult it may seem. Now it's time to make your voice heard. What are your thoughts on the story of Wolfgang Tempel and the Stasi's reign of terror in East Germany? Do you have any experiences of your own with state surveillance? Or do you know someone who has? Share your stories in the comments below, and let's continue the conversation. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for more thought-provoking content that explores the darkest corners of the human experience. Together, we can keep the memory of those who suffered under communism alive and ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain.